Hi, it's Sandy Parker and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to show you how to make paper earrings as well as show you some earring components I got from a company called Beebeecraft. I hope you'll stay tuned. Well, first let me show you a company called Beebeecraft sent me a whole bunch of earring bases. It was like a kit, and I'll put a photo of it right here and I'll put a link below in case you like it. But it had all kinds of these really beautiful crystal colors of pieces, and it also came with all the components to make the earrings. And then I just added, for most of them, I added little beads to make them a little bit more frisky, like that. I'm just going to go through them, show you the whole set. This one's like a grayish black color. Then there were a couple purples. Purples are harder to find in earrings, and so I thought I would do some real frisky stuff with those. I'm not sure if I like that one or not because it's really heavy. Same with these orange ones. They're kind of heavy, but I'm going to give them a shot. And I wore these ones yesterday, and I really was happy with the way they... Oops, hold on. I'm going to put them on, I'll put them over my hand so you can see them better. It was like that, and they were kind of fun. Anyway, those are the ones that I got from Beebeecraft, and like I said, they were a kit. It wasn't the actual earrings made up. And then I made, yesterday, I showed you how I cut these dies with my new die cutting platform that I made out of a self-healing cutting mat, and I'll link that video up here so in case you want to make your own self-healing cutting mat for your die cutting machine. Anyway, I used these dies. One of my friends sent them to me, and after I put up that video where I mentioned them, she said she did get them from AliExpress, and she sent me a link, so we have the link for them, and they're really cool. Here's what I've discovered after using them. I absolutely loved these ones that were shaped like a diamond, or, they came to a point. But in order to put a hole through paper that was that thin, every time I tried, I cracked the paper. Didn't matter what hole punch I used. It didn't matter how I tried to do it. I couldn't make it work. But with that being said, when I tried with like this was with the circle and silver, look how cute that is. I just think they're adorable, and they're so lightweight and fun. That's the only silver one I've made. I'm going to make a silver one today. Then this one is the purple set I made, and that's what it looks like on one side. And then if you flip it over on this one, I used an all gold one that didn't punch out before I changed out my cutting pad, whatever. And there's the other one. Cool. Then I did this one in browns and blacks, even though it's all black inside. And that's how it came out. Hold on. That's how it lays on your ear. And then there's its pair. And then I did these white ones. I'll just lay them like that so you can see them. Kind of frisky. And then I made these pink ones. I think the pink ones might be my favorites because this kind of looks like a piece of candy to me. Hold on, I'll pull it up, put it on my hand so you can see that part. Doesn't it kind of look like a piece of candy? I love candy, so why wouldn't I? Okay, so today we're gonna make a pair with navy blue. I'm gonna show you the tools I used. Now, we went to a flea market many years ago in Florida on vacation, and there was this one of the places. This is before I ever did any crafty things. This is before I ever had a YouTube channel. We found this set called Bead Landing, and it had all of these tools for jewelries, and we thought at the time that it would be nice to have these on hand, like if my necklace broke and we needed to fix one of the rings or whatever, that we would have the tools. And so I'll tell you the tools that I'm going to use today. This is a little wire cutter. Trust me when I tell you, I had to do some research to figure out what all these things were called. And I wrote it all down just in case I would forget. And of course, I've already forgotten the name of one of these things. All right, well then I'll go on to these. Okay, these are called flat nose pliers. These are round nose pliers. If I'm wrong, tell me in the section below. This pair, I don't know what it's called. We're just going to call them pliers. Then I needed these little O-rings, and they're open rings. That means that they have an opening on them. I found out the hard way that sometimes they don't have openings. I didn't know that. Okay, so I used my Xyron, and if you don't have a Xyron, this is what it looks like. You put your item that you want to turn into a sticker, you put it in face down, see the arrow, face down, and then you pull it through. Oops, not pushing far enough. Of course, that's the problem. And then you pull it through, and then once you pull it through, it's now going to be a sticker. So then I did that with these 4. Hopefully you can see them. And you want to rub really well, because if you rub this, hopefully the glue that's kind of now like a like little fibers, hopefully those little fibers are not attached to this, because when you pull it off, I don't know if you can see those. Can you see the shiny ones right there? That means that the glue is still in there in the openings, and you don't want it in your openings. So you're going to want to go around with a pokey tool or a pencil, something that you can kind of clean that out with, because it'll make your life so much easier if you do this. And then you're going to clean your pokey tool when you're done, but you just really want to go through and make sure that all of these holes are sticky free. What, I can't think of another term to use for the sticky part. And if you still have some left in there, we can fix it, but it's much easier on you if you get it out at this stage. Hopefully you can see that I've got all that out, or most of it out. Okay, now you're going to lay it on your paper, hopefully where you can see me. And I'm going to lay mine as close to the edge as possible. Okay, now if you have any of that glue left, like right there, I don't know if you can see that, there's glue left. If you have one of these adhesive removers, they're very inexpensive, and I just was at a big Dollar Tree yesterday in Pittsburgh, and they sell these at the Dollar Tree in Pittsburgh. So if you don't have one, first you can rub this with your finger, and sometimes that will take the excess off, but if it doesn't, I recommend getting one of these and using this to remove any excess adhesive that you might have on your earring. And if you have little black balls, that's because it kind of gets like this will come off. Okay, so that's as far as we're going to go for right now. Then you're going to get your scissors, and you're going to make sure I tilt my scissors so I'm kind of angled under the silver. Can you see that? The way my scissors are tilted under. You want to do that because you don't want to see the blue paper, if you can avoid it. And I'm going to make sure this one becomes my back, because it looks like when I ran it through the die cut or something happened where I have a weird hole in it. Don't know how that happened. Okay. After you've cut it out, look at it again and make sure that if you have any areas where you can see the blue paper, that you get rid of it, because you don't want that, and it's harder to cut that off once you add your other piece. Okay, we only need that much for one earring, so now we're going to do the other earring. We're going to take off the de-stickify this. Got to use those big words, you know. Woo! Hopefully you can see that sticky stuff that I have to take out. And actually, if you have that, a little bit of it on the end, it helps to remove it if you just use that part that has sticky stuff on it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're just going to set it very close to the edge. And then I'll cut that one out. You don't need to watch me cut that out, so we'll do that off screen. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your other two, well, one of your other two, and we're going to do the same thing with the sticky. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the one that you've already put on a backing, and you're going to lay this one directly over it. Make sure it's even on all sides. You don't want it to have it be off kilter. Push it down, and then after I do that, then I rub this over it again, because you're going to have some areas where you're going to have a little bit of that residue behind, and you want to get rid of as much of that as possible. And do that when you have a couple minutes and some patience, because it does take a little bit of time to take this off and do a good job of taking it off. And I don't want to waste your time with that, but that's how you're going to clean it all off. So then this is what your base of your earring is going to look like. Here's my other backing. Now I'm just going to take it and lay it over the other, making sure again that I lined it up really well. A little bit crooked. I don't push down until I'm sure it's really well lined up. Otherwise, you have a little bit of trouble getting it off of its backing. Now you're going to need a pokey tool or some kind of sharp implement that you can jab, yeah, that was a technical jewelry word, jab into your earring. The way you want to do this, it depends on how long you want your earring to be on your face. If I put the hole right here, then the earring, I'm going to stick that right there so you see it. If I put the hole right there, the earring is going to lay like that on your face. If you put it here, then it's going to lay longer like this on your face. So it's kind of up to you. How do you want it to lay? Do you want it to be more like that direction, or do you want it to be more square? I personally like mine to be so that I have the pointy part in one of these top sections, one of these little corner sections, I guess I'll call it. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it, I want to go in the same spot if I can. And then that's, I don't know, can you see that? That's where my holes are. Then you're going to need to take some of your tools. Now, if I use the wrong tool, or if I say something about jewelry making that's completely wrong, I apologize. I don't know a lot of the terminology, and I don't know a lot about the things I'm using as far as what they're called and things like that. First of all, let me tell you about these open jump rings. Open jump rings can come in a lot of sizes. I think this is either an 8mm or a 10mm, but I couldn't find the bag that they came in, so I can't tell you that for sure. But I know that I bought some gold ones that are smaller, and they're 6mm. I think, if I had to guess, I would say this is probably a 10mm, because this is a 6mm. And it's gold. And so I'm assuming that's a 10, but I could be wrong. It could be an 8. But you don't want to go any bigger than a 10. And the only reason I'm going as big as I am is because I have to go through this section and have enough room for my ring to still move. Okay, so when you open one of these rings, you want to take your tools, and this is when you're not strong, and you want to bend it away from itself like that. You don't want to spring it out. You want to bend it back. Does that make sense? If you can see, the opening is still the same. If you pull it back, it's going to completely close so that it's exactly closed. No, I can't explain that. I'm going to have to just show you, I guess. Okay. So the reason I had to have such a big ring is because see how far down there that is, and then to have room to make sure it still can close, you need to have a big ring. And I'm using the same size rings for everything only because I don't have other silver jump rings. And did you see how I closed that? Hopefully you did. And it's not completely closed, so I'm going to give it one more pull. It helps if you're strong when you do this, I'll tell you that much. Okay, that's the first part of it. Then I want to make sure I've explained things. Oh, the other thing is you want to make sure that your O-rings are a heavier gauge, because if you get a lightweight gauge, they're too flimsy. And I made that mistake before. I think the ones I found online were called 18 gauge. I hope that's right. If you're a jewelry maker, let me know if I screwed that up or not. The type of earring that we're going to make is this one. And it's called an ear wire with a fish hook. That's what that's called. Then you're going to need one of these. This is called a head pin. And you need one for each earring, because we're going to use this to thread our earring pieces through it. So what I want to do, I'm only going to use, I thought I was going to use different beads, but I think what I'm going to do, I might be lying, I think I'm going to use these and just do that much. I was thinking, I'm going to do one more so you can look at the other one and decide which one I should go with. I was thinking about doing this blue one and that one. I kind of like the shimmeriness of that one. This matte one's a little too boring. Could be. Alright, we're going to go with blue. If you hate it, I'm sorry. Okay, now this is the part I'm not good at, and if you are a jewelry maker and I'm doing this wrong, I apologize. But it is what it is. This is how I do things. So, here's how I do it. If it's wrong, I apologize. About that far above the bead, I'm going to turn it about that much. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it so that I can make a loop like that. And then I'm going to turn my loop, well, I'm going to turn my wire so that it goes around. And this wire is very lightweight, and probably too lightweight, but I'm using it anyways. And it works for me because the heavier wires are really tricky for me to use. And I'm just going to keep wrapping it around until I've made it as like two wraps, or I guess I'll say. And then I'm going to take my wire cutters and I'm going to get as close as I can. I'm going to move that. I'm getting as close as I can to that loop, and then I'm going to cut it. Like that. And then I'm going to take my loop and straighten it so it's straight up. And I'm going to do the exact same thing to this one. Again, if I'm not doing this right, I apologize, but this is how I roll. Trying to make sure that my beads look kind of consistent with each other the way the pattern goes. Put that like that. Take it. And I'm going to hold on to it. This is one of those crafts that if I can do it with my hands, I'm hoping the rest of you can too, because my hands aren't very strong. And somebody the other day thought I was just double jointed in my fingers, and because I never say I have rheumatoid arthritis. So if you didn't know, that's what I have. I have rheumatoid arthritis. And not just in my hands, pretty much everywhere. And the reason I started my channel was because I couldn't find anybody on YouTube that could show me how to do things from the perspective of someone who struggles with strength in their hands and wrists, and it bothered me that I couldn't find anybody. And that's why we have a YouTube channel. And it was actually Rich's idea. And if you don't know Rich, Rich is my husband. He's the editor. He edits all the videos, and he does all of the music. He picks up the music. He doesn't hold the camera. Someone thinks he holds the camera. I said, no, that's a tripod that does that. Okay, so then we have our holes punched. So then what we need to do is, on this one, I need to put an O-ring on my second earring. Hopefully you can see how that's opened. And putting the O-rings on these pieces of paper is probably the hardest part of this, is getting them in there together. Okay. Okay, see how it's nice and tight there? That's what you want. Okay, then I'm going to take another one of these O-rings, and I'm going to put this on my dangle, we'll call it. And that's what it'll look like when it hangs on your ear. It'll look like that. What do you think? It's kind of fun. And they're very, very lightweight. If you worry about how heavy is something, these are very lightweight. And I got these at Joann's, or I think it was, maybe it wasn't. It might have been Hobby Lobby. From the jewelry shop, and they were $2.99. No, these were at Joann's. 18mm flat fishhook ear wires, what it's called. And I got 30 pieces, and it's nickel free. If you ever wanted to make paper earrings, these dies really make fun earrings. I think, anyway. I had a really good time when I wore the one pair to my doctor's appointment. I got such a laugh out of it because I got it caught on my coat. When I was getting out of the car, the neck of my coat got stuck on the earring, and I couldn't unhook myself from my coat. My earring and my coat were one, and it was so frustrating, and I was trying to get Rich's attention to get him to detangle me, and then it just came loose on its own. It was really embarrassing, though, because, you know, you're trying to get out of a car, and you can't get out of a car because your coat and your earring are attached to each other. These things happen to me. I'm sure you realize that. Okay, here is the other one, and here's our pair. I'm going to put that together so you can see them. I think they're kind of fun. So I hope you give this a thumbs up and subscribe, and please tell your friends about me on social media because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.